Welcome to the Better Together podcast, where we look for ways we can work together to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ. Today, we have with us Dr. Fred Yerby. He's a physician from Alabama. He actually went to the University of Alabama to do his preparation. He's been practicing for many years, working with various individuals with their health, and he's here to join us today. So, Dr. Yerby, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the Better Together podcast.
Thanks, Brother Eddie. Thanks for having me.
So you know that at the National Association this past year, they passed a resolution and they said that they would like to see us have a time of praying and fasting the first Tuesday in November, which just so happens to be November the 1st. And so we're starting to put some resources out about things people can pray about, putting the resolution that they passed out. And we're just so glad that you're here to join us today to talk a little bit about fasting from a physician standpoint. And so let's just start out by sharing with us some of the health benefits that one can find from fasting. We know the scripture tells us that we should fast. We know that Jesus fasted, and we see a lot of examples in the scripture of Old Testament and New Testament characters fasting. But what do we know today about some of the health benefits of fasting?
Right. Well, there's been a lot of interest in fasting, particularly in the last few years, some of the intermittent fasting and that sort of thing. But there's been a lot of research done on fasting through the years that show there are many health benefits to fasting. Lower resting heart rates and lower blood pressures have been noted among most individuals who fast on a regular or intermittent basis. Obviously, it can promote weight loss, depending on how often you fast. Improved glucose sugar levels have been noted in people who fast. It can also have an impact on your total cholesterol and your bad cholesterol. It can help lower those levels. And then some studies have also reported that fasting can produce increases in energy and can actually lead to a reduction in inflammation, such as things like arthritis and things that might promote autoimmune diseases. And some studies have even shown in animals and possibly in humans as well that it can lead to longer lifespans if you fast on a regular basis.
So I'm listening, and I've been hearing about the day of fasting and prayer and thinking, I'm not so sure about that. When I listen to you, I'm thinking, hey, that sounds like a pretty good idea, but perhaps I also have some sort of health problems. Some of the folks, are there some folks that maybe they shouldn't fast, or they should take particular precautions in fasting based on the kind of health situations they find themselves in?
Right, there are a few categories of people who possibly should not fast or should really take things into consideration, maybe consult their own healthcare professional. Children, we generally would not recommend to fast, particularly young children, prepubertal children, maybe children less than 16 or 18 years old. They need that caloric intake for their growth and development, and you don't want to really interrupt that on any kind of regular basis. Women who are pregnant or breastfeeding, they also should be careful. Their baby needs that nutrition, and they probably should not fast. People with eating disorders probably should not fast. You don't want to provoke or promote something that has been a problem for them in the past. And people with any kind of an acute illness, if you're suffering from some kind of acute infection or something like that, then you need those calories probably to promote healing, and that would not be a good time to fast. Diabetics also in particular need to be careful about fasting. Not to say that they can't fast, but those who are on diabetic medications, insulin or oral medications, need to be careful about their blood sugar levels, and they either should not fast or should do some type of a modified fast, probably.
That's good. So often when we think of fasting, we think about fasting for like a 24-hour period, which is often referred to as a major fast. And it sounds like the first part you talked about in our first question, that would be addressing some of that, where it helps us to be healthy. However, you just mentioned like diabetics and so forth. That would be more what's often referred to, I think, as a minimal fast, where they just might miss a particular meal, but they might even have to be careful, some of the people with health issues, even about that, wouldn't they?
They might be careful even about missing one meal, and they might decide to do some kind of other modified fast, some kind of a dietary restriction where they might leave off certain foods or food groups for a 24-hour period, or for some period even less than that. Or they, as you said, might decide to just fast for 6 hours a day, or 8 hours a day, or 12 hours a day. It's possible that they could do that safely, but again, they'd want to monitor things fairly closely.
That's good. And so there is some writing out there about families and fasting. And so you mentioned it's important that the kids continue to have their calories, that moms that are breastfeeding, that they would continue to eat. Other parents, though, that wouldn't be breastfeeding, they might be able to fast, but it's just going to be more difficult because they'll have to remember their kids still need to be able to eat as well. But perhaps they would be able to fast around that as long as they're able to continue to get their intake of calories, wouldn't they?
That's right. Certainly, the other parent or additional family members, older children, could probably fast safely.
So you mentioned some people that could not fast. Are there things that maybe wouldn't involve food that come to your mind? Some people refer to this, I think, as more like a soul fast. Anything that you're aware of or you think of that could be utilized in that area?
Yeah, certainly. Outside of food, you may choose to give up other things that you do on a daily basis that are important in your life. Things like television, or certainly Facebook, or Instagram, or Snapchat, or whatever your passions are. Maybe even sports viewing, or whatever that you might do on a regular basis that consumes your time, that could be maybe better used in prayer and trying to grow your relationship with the Lord.
So it sounds like there's really three categories of fasting. Maybe a major fast that we think of, like 24 hours or more, that someone would need to have good health to participate in. And you told us the health benefits of that. There's also the minor fast, where someone might take some food group or leave that out. But people that would have to think more in that respect, that have diabetes or some other health issue, or a nursing mother. But then people that couldn't do any of those things, the social fast, and that would be a way of depriving themselves of media or some other activities, as you said, to focus more upon the scriptures and focus that time upon praying and talking to the Lord. So really there's alternatives for anyone who wants to have a particular type of fast, aren't there?
Yes, I certainly think so. You can find something that you could give up that's important to you on a daily basis.
Well, really, Dr. Yerby, this is very helpful to us. I'm especially interested in how you mentioned how fasting can help us with our blood pressure, how it can help us with other areas of our lives, and maybe even helps a little bit with longevity in certain situations. So it does seem like it's something really to look into from a health perspective. And then for us, from a spiritual perspective, the key aspect is that we would have a period of time where we focus on the Lord, try to get our thoughts based on Him in scripture and prayer. That's really what it's about, isn't it?
It is. That's exactly right. We want to grow in our relationship with Him.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to spend with us today and help us out with this, my friend. You provided us with some really good information.
Thanks, Brother Eddie. Again, thanks for having me.
You bet. And we want to thank you that are listening in. We encourage you to take this podcast, share it with people that it might be of interest to. Remember, every little thing we do is helpful and beneficial, and we truly are better when we work together.